Jai Sri Ram. This is Girish Sahasrabhojani speaking with you, and I've been here for the last 3 years at Sri Ram Janmabhoomi Mandir Nirman Karya. I am basically a structural engineer, a civil structural engineer. My education is BE Civil, followed by Masters in Structural Engineering from IIT Mumbai. I have been picked up for this job, I'll say, with pride because of certain experience and my standing in my own profession, and I'm trying my best to come true to their expectations. Sri Ram Janmabhoomi Mandir is an exclusive structure which is expected to last well over 1,000 years, and as such, with a series of challenges, starting from the foundation being very close to the river Sharayu, then being located within the seismic zone, secondly being away from the from the distinct sources of supply of the building material, which is principally rock. This site had definitely unique challenges in many ways. I am sure that once a solution to this is achieved, this will act as a beacon for many other temples that will come world over of such importance. Sri Ram Mandir, as we all know, has a history which I shall not repeat because already much has been said by many on this. But the most important thing is matching with the expectations befitting the history of this mandir itself. And naturally, our choice was to go for a design which will last minimum 1,000 years, which naturally is coming back to a structural stability of the whole thing. Prime factor here is that Ayodhya is located within the earthquake or the seismological zone 3 as per the Indian standards. Now, what does it mean? It means intensity of earthquake shakes has been defined by the CBRI of a particular magnitude. So, it is expected that the structure will last that particular magnitude of earthquake shakes. So, to be very sure about the longevity of this structure, the ideology followed was we have designed it for one step higher intensity of earthquakes, thereby giving us a comfort that yes, the structure will last for 1,000+ years. I'll come back again to the other challenge like Sharayu River. Now, Sharayu is a perennial river which has been flowing on from west to east, and in the historical times, the channel of the Sharayu River, which is called as the Paleo Channel, was passing very close to today's location of Sri Ram Mandir. This was a challenge by itself because the river swells during the rainy season, and its upper bank or the right bank, which is towards the Ayodhya town, is barely about half a kilometer away from the boundary of the present day Sri Ram Mandir. Now, how dangerous is it? Could the river come in future? Could it come and touch the mandir? Could it erode the mandir? These were the issues which naturally had to be considered while designing this mandir. Let me tell you that in my capacity as the design and construction manager on behalf of Sri Ram Janmabhoomi Mandir Trust here, that the aspect of stability under all cases had to be very prime. I am not directly not being an architect nor being a Vastu Shastri. My outlook is to give a stability or the structure, to consider the aspect of stability befitting the beautiful architectural design provided by the architects. Now, what we had to do was to provide a foundation system which was sturdy enough to match the expectation of longevity, and the first and foremost was that a satellite surveillance of the whole area was conducted, and this was done by NGRI Hyderabad. They came up with figures stating that the paleochannels, which are basically the basins through which the river flows, were in historical times very close, but today they are away about 500 meters and 800 meters away. So during the peak rainy season, the water just merely touches about half a kilometer to the west of the Mandir, but in the rest of the season, where the water comparatively reduces, the flow of the river tends to shrink, and then the river goes as far as about 1 to 1.5 kilometer away. Now in future, why will it not come? And the idea is very simple. Basically, towards approaching from the west to east, the Sharayu river takes a S turn. So while with a broad say basin of the river stretching about 2.5 kilometers wide, the flow rate of the water is very low. So the cutting force of the water is marginal here, and that's why there is no cutting going on further on the west side. Whereas towards the north of the Mandir, near the Naya Ghat, the bend takes a inward turn, that means convex bend. So whereby the cutting force of the water goes on cutting the north side towards Gonda district, and thus the river is going, I'll say decade after decade, it is slightly shifting towards the north and going away from Ayodhya. This is in a way a solace for all people who are worried about the ingress of the water or the inundation of the entire basin. That's not likely to happen as expressed by the experts of NGRI. Now, the area where the Mandir is located was non-negotiable. What I mean here is, being the birthplace of Sri Ram, there was no point in arguing whether any other site is suitable for this Mandir, because the very purpose of this Mandir is to build a Mandir at the place of Sri Ram's birth. So we had to overcome the weaknesses of the soil. What was it? The soil was not strong enough. The soil was low density. It contained plenty of mica. Now this mica comes in along with the flow as the river comes in from Nepal into Uttarakhand and then to Uttar Pradesh. So this mica has reduced the density of the soil, and as against the normal density of soil of 1.6 grams per cc to 1.8 grams per cc, the soil here is about 1.3 to 1.35 gram per cc. This is a low density and certainly not good enough for the foundation of this Mandir. So what was the logical step was to remove this soil, replace the soil, and we replaced the soil with a granular material which was actually imported sand and imported aggregate. So this was mixed in a lean mix with nominal concrete, and a lean concrete mix was prepared and it was filled up in a huge area which was excavated. What I mean here is that the Mandir and the Parkota outer limits and there beyond, roughly in an area of about 8.5 to 9 acres, we dug up like a basin, typically a basin which was roughly about 6 meters deep from the existing level of ground in those days. So we went down, and in the Garbhagriha area we went further 2 meters down. So this whole thing area was excavated, the soil was thrown away, and it was replaced with the soil replaced concrete. This concrete was compacted with roller because having very low water cement ratios, there was no way of any other means of compaction. We used the compaction with the rollers which you see for the construction of the roads. Having done this, we came to a level which was almost the ground level, And then as per the final formation levels, the ground level itself had to be raised in this area by about 1.5 meter. So on the top of this roller compacted concrete, we had plain cement concrete blocks which were put in over there. They were of a higher concrete strength, but there was no use of steel, because as we all know, steel, howsoever good quality you may have, tends to corrode. And even if we use stainless steel, then certainly there are issues which are related to the suitability from Vastu point of view, because Vastu Shastra considers steel as a negative energy element. So it is completely disallowed in the construction of Mandir. Now, from this spiritual angle, of which we cannot contest anything, because and leave it to the experts, we decided not to use any steel in this, not even stainless steel. Now, with 1.5 meter of plain concrete raft, I will say, over it we have done the subsequent construction with the help of granite stones for the lower plinth of the Mandir. The granite stone has been brought from Karnataka, Bangalore, as well as from Telangana, and these blocks were basically selected because granite is a very tough and strong rock with very low porosity, so there is no question of any absorption of the groundwater there. And then above that we have 5 feet plinth, which is coming above this 6 meters of the granite lower plinth height. The upper plinth is 1.5 meters, which is actually the flooring level of the ground floor of the Ram Lala Mandir. Now the superstructure above this is above the 6 meter lower plinth is all coming up in sandstone, and this sandstone is coming from Bharatpur. This is also a very strong and good quality rock, and it is being carved at Pindwada and Bayana in Rajasthan, and then the carved stones are brought here, and the mandir is then constructed. The superstructure of the mandir is constructed with these stones. Now, having told you about the earthquake, then the second thing is about the soil that is being proximity to the Sharayu river. I shall briefly tell you about the superstructure. Now, when the analysis of the whole structure was done for stability for the earthquake, it came to our notice, and this analysis was done by CBRI at Roorkee. They came to a conclusion that yes, the original design of the mandir needed some changes, because as you typically know that earthquake forces causes maximum destruction at the uppermost crest of any building. So if it's a tall building, then the upper portion is the most vulnerable in the event of the shake, which we can appreciate because the amplitude is the highest there as compared to the lower part of that structure. So it was revealed in the structural analysis that the sections which were originally proposed by the architect for the mandir construction, note here that the sections proposed were by the architect and not by the structural engineer, so had to be revised to match with the requirement of the strength and stability under the event of the earthquake. So accordingly, the sizes of the stone beams as well as columns were revised, and it was ensured subsequently that now the mandir is safe in the event of earthquake of degree 4. This was very important. In the process, certain columns have become bigger as against the earlier slender columns. They have now become bigger in size. So accordingly, the design as far as the artwork on the pillars was concerned had to be redone by the architect, which was done. The beams had to be redone, which was done. And now what we see is a mandir which is aesthetically as well as structurally very sound. Now the construction is in full swing, and one very interesting aspect about the construction here is that contrary to the current practice of construction, which is reinforced concrete structures where there is use of steel as reinforcement, as I said that the entire mandir is using no steel. So our material of construction is all stone, which is a brittle material and totally lacking any ductility property. Now ductility has its own importance, that ductility prevents the increase in the size and it can reduce the member sizes because there is some strong element in form of steel which can take the tension, whereas in the form of stone there is no the tensile forces are not that much, as compared, capacity is not so high as compared to the compressive capacity. So we had to match with redesigning of the sections, so that assuming that the columns are subjected to tension, the tension should not cause excessive compression on the other end of the section of the columns. So a redistribution of the forces was considered, and finally what we have achieved is the sizes of the columns which are absolutely safe even in the case of tension being built up in the columns. Now this mark here that the tension is not a situation where the entire section is under tension, but a part of the column is under tension. Such situation can be dealt with, and there will never be a situation where there will be 100% tension in any of the columns. So that's the beauty of the structural design which is done here. Now how are the columns built? Typically the columns are about 6 meters tall. So it is not possible to have a single stone of that length. 6 meters is about 20 feet. So you never get such big sections in quarry. So the stones had to be as per the availability of the stones, which is normally not more than about 5 feet or 6 feet in size when it comes to a planned dimension of about 4 feet by 5 feet. So naturally the columns were done in 7 segments, and keeping one above the other, the column segments had to be connected to each other, and this was done with the help of a central key. This is a socket and spigot type of arrangement, and where there are sockets in the upper and lower which are concentric, and they are connected with a spigot. So this is the kind of arrangement which has been traditionally used, and we are doing the same here as well. That is for the vertical members. As far as the horizontal members, between the supports, the beams are all one piece. There is nothing like a flat arch used anywhere. They are all one piece members, and where they are resting on the top of the pillars, the connection between beam to beam is basically ensuring that there is no slightest slide between the members, in the event of any earthquake. This has been achieved with the help of copper pins, which are typically like copper flats C shape, which are connecting the members to one another, and their function is just to prevent any sliding of the members. One very simple and beautiful aspect everybody will enjoy is that how come that the member which is not connected by steel, which is not having any say binder, can it hold together? But the nature itself is great. The element of frictional resistance between two members of stone, that is one stone to other stone rubbing against each other, the friction coefficient is generally 0.6. What it means is that if the load of the stone is 100 kg, then the horizontal friction should be more than, horizontal force to destabilize it should be more than 0.6 times the self weight 100, that is 60 kg. So if the earthquake intensity is such that the horizontal destabilizing force exceeds 60 kg, then the column will topple. But as per the CBRI data, the forces anticipated here are not going to be more than 30 kg. So we have a handsome factor of safety here of about 2, and the mandir will withstand without any binder. Whatever binder has been used like cement etc. is merely for sealing the gaps between the two members and making it intact. That's it. They have no structural value. They are only used as filler. And naturally, there is no question of the strength of the structure reducing because of the limited life of cement itself. That question doesn't arise. And therefore, I would like to quote here that in the famous temple of Shiva at Tanjavur, not a single grain of cementing material is used. All stones have been put just one above the other, and still the beautiful temple is standing here. So exactly the same thing here also. We need not have used anything, but we have used it so as to give a surface wherein insects cannot hide, they cannot make their homes, and it will become a clean structure. Thus, for the mandir, and apart from the mandir, the overall area of the mandir, which is surrounded by percotta, is about outer area comes to approximately about 8.5 acres. Percotta, which is the Pradakshina Marg around the mandir, is itself huge, and the perimeter of that is about 756 meters. The percotta has entrance on the east side, which is a beautiful structure. This is something which will be matching the architecture of the mandir itself. On 4 corners of the percotta, of the rectangular percotta, we have 4 mandirs, and in between also we have 2 mandirs. See, this is the vertical member, and this is the horizontal member. I'll put it this way. This is the column and this is the beam.
Yes.
Now what happens is, when there is an earthquake, there is a sliding here possible. Yeah? But it will not be so much that it will fall down. Why? Because the force, earthquake force, how much is it? And what is preventing it? It is the friction between the column and the beam. That friction, any two elements, when you rub against each other, there is a friction. So when the earthquake causes this friction, this movement, the dead weight of the member itself is transferred into frictional force.
Okay.
So the friction coefficient between this and this, both are stones, is 0.6. So what it means is that if the weight of this member is 100 kg, 0.6 times that is 60 kg. 60 kg is the reserve capacity of this joint without any cementing material. So if your force is less than 60, it will not destabilize and move away from this place. It will just remain in position. Nothing will happen. It will remain. It will absorb the force less than 60 kg. You got it now?
Yes.
See, if my force is more than 60, it will slide, because that is when the force is overcoming the intrinsic resistance capacity. Resistance capacity of this against slide is 0.6 times, that is 60 kg. So if my horizontal force is exceeding 60, only then the slide will happen. If it is less than that, the slide will not happen. But according to CBRI, the maximum possible earthquake will cause a horizontal force of 30 kg only in this area. So I have 2 times safety. That is what I explained here. I'll now give you a brief idea about the type of the structure, what are the aspects involved in the mandir construction. Now this mandir has 166 pillars on the ground floor. The mandir is ground plus 2 storied. There is no basement for the mandir. The basement is in fact not a good sign as far as the Vastu Shastra is concerned. Vastu says that there should be no hollow space under the Garbhagriha. So obviously this whole thing has no basement as such. Now coming to the ground floor has the Garbhagriha which will behold Ram Lala, that is the Balak Swarup of Sri Ram. And this Garbhagriha is the west extreme of the Mandir. As we enter from the east, the first area is the Chauki, then we have Nritya Mandap, then we have the Ranga Mandap, then we have the Gudi Mandap or the Gruha Mandap, and to the north of this Gruha Mandap we have the Prarthana Mandap, and to the south of this we have the Kirtan Mandap. So these are the total 5 mandaps, and then the 6th or the most the cause of this whole thing is the Garbhagriha, which is to the extreme west. So Ram Lala will be looking towards east in this. As we enter from the east side entrance, we will be facing Sri Ram Lala, and it will take roughly about 3.5 minutes to reach the spot where we can have the closest darshan of the deity. Therefrom we will take a left turn and then we will come out of this. Now what I wanted to tell you here is that at ground level there are 166 pillars, and each pillar has roughly about 16 carvings of figures of deities, of Nrityanganas, Devakanyas, of various gods and goddesses. So they will be carved on the pillars. Now this is going to be a beautiful carving work which will take place, and we are fortunate that in spite of the roomages of our traditional mandirs, the art of carving in the stone is still alive, thanks to a wonderful institution in the state of Orissa, which even to this day gives a training to a novice to turn out into a full-fledged master craftsman in stonework. So the people go there, they take their training and they emerge as sort of graduates into the carving technique or the iconography technique. Such people have come here. They are doing the iconography on the pillars. And the pillars it is taking time because say preparing from the flat surface, carving into it idol or a murti of roughly about 15 inches tall, it takes on an average about 3 weeks for a craftsman, and then the finishing, etc. So it's a time taking thing. So although by 22nd of January we may have some pillars having this say iconography work done, the completion of the iconography is a long term activity, and we expect that typically it will go on till about middle to end of 2025. There's nothing wrong in it, because if you have noted, there are temples where it goes on for decades, like at near the Agra. You may have heard of Dayalbagh area, where the iconography work has been going on for more than 30-40 years now. So that way our progress is going to be much faster. Now this ground floor has beautiful marble flooring, and the marble flooring has inlay work. It is something like Kashida work done on dresses, the women's dresses, there is Kashida work, or on the saris there is Kashida work. Like it's a different color material which is intertwined into the base material. So it's exactly the same but in stone, in marble. So we have the plain white marble but with beautiful flowery designs, leaves, petals, etc., which is a combination of different colors as per the design which has been selected. So you will see beautiful motifs at the center of each of these 5 mandaps, and that motif is roughly about 26 feet, say about 8 meters in diameter. And then there are borders to the white marble in various areas. They are roughly about 20 centimeters in width. They are all coming up essentially in Indian material, and the material comes from Makrana, it comes from Madhya Pradesh, and it comes also from Rajasthan in other places. So it's a beautiful combination of various color stones which will be intertwined in inlay work there. Now this, so much for the marble work. Now the next thing is the first floor. The first floor is going to have a Garbhagriha which will be exactly above the ground floor Garbhagriha, but that is where Sri Ram Darbar will be there. So on assuming as the ruler of Ayodhya, as the Raja of Ayodhya, that Swarup of the Lord will be manifested there in the form of Ram Darbar. This one also has about 132 pillars on the first floor. The extent of the first floor is smaller than this because naturally some portion which goes in the chowki and the Nritya Mandap will not be there on the first floor. So the area is also comparatively less, but it will also be beautiful. It will also have white marble flooring, but the best white marble will be seen on the ground floor naturally. And on the second floor there is an area which is not accessible to the general darshanarthis. It's for the upkeep of this mandir and some essential parts related with it. Now even the first floor also, the pillars will have iconography, as I said. All these iconography themes are coming through experts. Basically it's not simply the craftsmen who are doing it, but each and every murti which is going to come up, first of all sketches are prepared by experts, and then they are approved by another set of experts, and then finally it is given to the murtikar, who draws his own picture based on the understanding of the murti, which is of the picture which is given to him. He draws it in his own hand. That one is then again scrutinized, and then finally the mistakes are removed and absolutely perfect form of that murti is finally frozen, and that is then chosen for the carving of the murti. The way it is done is very simple. Basically on the flat surface of the pillar, this picture in 2 dimension is simply stuck by them, and moving their chinni and hathoda on top of this, they demarcate on the stone through the paper the form of that murti outer line. So beyond the outer line, whatever stone is there, they simply chip it off first. That is the first stage. Then the second stage comes in when along with the paper they go on drawing the limbs of that particular object, like hands and feet and head, outline of these and the gaps between them. And then comes the third stage, which is fine tuning the shapes of these limbs and objects, like if there is a vastra or if there is an instrument, then the outline of that will be done. And finally the fourth stage is when the face of the idol is perfected. The fifth stage is the fine tuning of this murti, which is the polishing, sandpaper application, etc. And then the last stage, which comes as applicable for the overall treatment on the sandstone, because the sandstone has a slight porosity which is roughly approximately less than about 1%, but nevertheless it can absorb the moisture. And why it becomes crucial is because with the moisture absorbed, there could be a subsequent or eventual development of algae or fungus on top of this stone. So to prevent that, we are going to give a coating on top of this sandstone. Now this coating will stop any ingress of the moisture and no algae formation will be there. So that is the last stage, which is the sixth. So there is quite a work there, right from first stage to sixth stage in the iconography. Same thing is done on all the outskirts of the sandstone, on the internal pillars, the ceiling, The ceiling also has beautiful crafting, beautiful carvings, and it's all done in slabs of stone which are having limitation, because while the pillars are there, the diameter of the polygonal octagonal mandaps is 32 feet across. That means the octagon across its dimension is 32 feet. This is a huge dimension. And then it goes on into the ceiling pattern. From 32 feet it is reduced, and thus how the towards the pinnacle, it's a closing point, which is the summit of the shikhar. So all this has beautiful carvings inside, which are actually, which is again a speciality of our traditional Hindu architecture. Only those type of arches and figures I will reflect into this. As far as the slab portion is concerned, in the Garbhagruha, as I told you that at first floor also there is going to be another Garbhagruha. So naturally the inner portion will have a slab, and below the slab there are stones which are, because from the bottom it won't look good if it is slab, flat slab. So there is beautiful cupola you can see right from the inside of the Garbhagruha, but on top of it there is a flat slab, and these flat slabs form the base, which is the base for the first floor. So the entire construction is done in this way. For people who are familiar with the reinforced concrete, again this is very tricky, because how do we ensure that the slab is perfectly in level? And this is where nothing less than the master craftsmanship of our artisans comes into play. The work is done to such a precision that it is millimetric accuracy when we decide the levels of each and every piece of stone which is laid on the formation of the pillars. So as a result, by the time the pillars come to the top level, which is the level at which the beams are laid, it's perfectly in level. And the accuracy is to the tune of plus minus 5 millimeters. That kind of an accuracy is ensured. So on top of the beams, then there is slab wherever the slabs are there, and the slabs are typically made of large panels, say about 10 feet to 12 feet in length, and they are about roughly about 1 foot in depth, 30 centimeters in depth, and they are touching each other. The width of the panels is about 2 feet 60 centimeters, and they touch each other in the form of Z. So they are sitting one above the other. So there is an overlap created by them, and then the joints are sealed, fine-tuned with the help of the same material, which is the powder of the same stone mixed with certain epoxies. Now traditionally the epoxies were not there, but now we have the epoxies. So epoxies mixed with this kind of a powder, stone powder, is used nowadays. This is good enough because epoxies also have a good life, and eventually, say within a couple of decades, if it falls down, there are going to be our future generations which can take care of this thing. So overall, you won't be able to spot out the joints between the various slab panels. That's the beauty of this type of construction. Now coming to the percotta. Percotta, as I said, is a rectangular one. The percotta is also about 14 feet wide, which is quite a huge one. And the percotta also has pillars which will have comparatively lesser carved, but still there will be good carving on the percotta also. The percotta's outer wall will have a wall which will be preventing the say access from outside to the mandir area. This is very necessary from security point of view for the mandir, as well as to prevent monkeys jumping and creating nuisance here in this area, because there are monkey population exceeds the population of human beings, by the way, in Ayodhya. So we have to take care of the monkeys also ingress into this area. This outer wall of the percotta will have, typically they will have pictures in the form of they again pictures in the sense they will be brass plates but having various scenes from the Ramayana. So this will be again developed by experts, and I'll not delve more into this because this is an area where artists will be better suited to tell you more about it. But I'll stop here telling you, as far as this aspect is concerned, that there will be roughly about 108 different scenes from Sri Ramayana, which will be depicted through these brass or bronze plates, which will be on display there. They will be in low relief comparatively. What it means is that the depth of those will be about 12 to 10 to 12 centimeters. So they will give you a 3D effect. It's not like a picture. It will give a 3D effect, but the 3D effect only will be 10 to 12 centimeters deep. On this slide, I'll come back to the lower plinth of the main mandir also will have this kind of theme, which will be again from Ramayana, various things. So that will also be there, but this time it will be in sandstone. So it will be a low relief carving in sandstone, which will cover up the vertical face of the lower plinth of the main mandir. So this is also being done by experts, and Sri Vasudev Kamatji is the one who is world acclaimed artist from India, who is taking keen interest into this, and he is doing this thing. So this will be absolutely beautiful. Now I'll come to the courtyard between the Parkota and the mandir. Now the courtyard will be developed as a beautiful lawn, and with say paving in area on the east side, as well as all along the mandir across all the directions. So people will be able to take a round and view those 108 or whatever number of these beautiful scenes on the plinth of the mandir itself. A care has been taken to ensure that while people, mostly they will come bare feet because there won't be any footwear here. All the footwear will be checked in at the baggage counter. So people will be essentially bare feet. So to take care that they don't have foot burns, the entrance path from the Parkota to the mandir itself will have white marble, which is essentially a cool stone. And then the mandir itself has white marble. Within the Parkota entrance also there will be white marble. And then there beyond is going to be Mandana stone, which is also a sandstone, comparatively low heating as compared to the other stones. So we have taken care as much as possible to ensure that the overall experience of the darshanarthis will be memorable. But at the same time, the people are also expected to retain the sanctity of this place. We expect that people will not indulge into activities like trying to write their names on, as people are traditionally known in our place. Yes, it's a matter of pride for everyone that my name is there, but do we really know that, are we really interested in keeping our name for 1,000 years? Certainly not. Now, one feature which will be interesting to you is about the doors of this mandir. Doors, this mandir has only 14 doors, and these come basically within the Gruha Mandap or the Gud Mandap, and the partition between the Gud Mandap and the Garbhagruha. So the Garbhagruha has 3 doors, and as I told you, the 4 directions, because east, west and north, south, that crossing will be there in the Gud Mandap. So 3 on the east side of the Gruha Mandap, 3 doors on the west side, which is the entrance to the Garbhagruha, 3 plus 3, 6. Then 3 on the north and 3 on the south. So this makes total 12. And then there are staircases going from the Gruha Mandap to the first floor. So below the staircases we have storage for the puja, etc., and something essential storages for the upkeep of the Mandir Garbhagriha itself. So they will also have doors. So total there are 14 doors here. These doors are made of teak wood, which is the highest quality, richest quality of teak wood. To be honest, I had never seen such a beautiful teak wood in my lifetime thus far. Such beautiful teak wood has come from Maharashtra state and from the Ballarsha and Alapalli forest range. The Maharashtra government has been kind enough to give us the best quality teak wood. We had been there for selection, and one firm from Hyderabad is doing beautiful carving work here, and the doors are intricately carved into 6 inches thick teak wood, and the door panels are 3 inches wide. This is huge. The entire teak wood will be coated with gold. So gold is the coating on top of it. Gold foiling is done. It's not gold plating, it is gold foiling which is done, as against the people's impression that the entire door is made of solid gold. No, it's not that. The door is made of teak wood, which is 3 inches, with something like a foiling on all the faces of the door, which is done with gold. I will not name the person who has generously donated this gold, because he doesn't want it that way. But there is somebody who is a great bhakta who has donated all this gold, and that gold will be actually applied on top of this teak wood by another firm from Delhi. So it will really give a very rich look to the whole structure and a lasting impression for anybody, to invite him again and again to come and visit this place.
What about the knobs for the door?
They will all be in brass. Yeah, this is the highest quality of brass is there. The doors have huge handles, and they have as against the normal hinges for the door. What happens is, with the hinges, with period of time, the hinges settle and the door tends to settle down slightly. This will not happen because the huge doors have top pivot and bottom pivot. So like the doors of the traditional forts you may have seen. So they have the top and bottom hinges which arrest the door firmly in position. So when the door swing opens, there is no question of any settlement of the door. It stays exactly in its position for years together. Here the joinery of the door is very important, because the door, which is 12 feet wide, the central door is 12 feet wide, is made into 4 panels. Each panel is 3 feet wide. Now you can't have a single piece of teak which is 3 feet wide, so it is naturally made of pieces joined together. But the joinery is so beautiful and such a sound one, that the piece to piece of the wood has been joined in such a way that it's nothing less than one piece. It has been achieved to that precision. A very good joinery is there. When we inspected the way the joinery is being done, I was dumbfounded with the level of genius which was used by illiterate people who are master craftsmen in carpentry. What they did is, when the 2 pieces of timber are joined together, they created an in-house semicircle on both the sides of half the width of the door, that is 1.5 inches thick. And within that they inserted something like a lock of timber. But that lock of timber was having grains which were perpendicular to the grains of the main panels. If we understand this, any timber, as the tree grows, it has grains along the length of the timber. So when the door has 2 panels abutting each other, the grains of both the timbers are going vertically. So the lock had to have horizontal grains. So they put that inner locking piece such that its grains were horizontal. This is something which I had never imagined from illiterate people, but those people are traditional. From tradition, it's coming, that art is coming to them. So they know exactly what is to be done. It's a beautiful work which is coming up. And really, I mean, this is something which is coming up only because of devotion of the people. People are not working merely for their bread and butter. Of course, that is necessary. But I have seen here every worker, right from unskilled worker to the topmost qualification engineer, everyone is fully focused and dedicated for the cause of this noble mandir coming up. So I expect nothing less than beautiful, and the best is coming out really. Everyone will be really wonderful. I mean, he will be fully satisfied to see such a beautiful Ram Mandir coming up here. Jai Shri Ram.